Hey everyone, and welcome to the Marvel Snap Decks of the Week, the weekly series where I showcase the top 10 best decks in Marvel Snap. If you'd like to support my content, hitting the like button is the best thing you can do. It's free, it helps a ton, and it's legitimately the only thing that YouTube cares about. Let's get started with deck number 10. We're going in reverse order here. We've got Sebastian Shaw, 54% win rate, a cube rate that's pretty modest at positive to 7. However, what I'll say is that it's the weekend missions. You're going to want to get some dubs to get some resources thanks to the weekend missions with Sebastian Shaw. This is currently the top deck running that package. It's interesting to see America Chavez being a mainstay here. You have Gladiator, the recently buffed Gladiator, running there at a 3-8, buffed by Okoye and by Nakia. It's a 3-10, which is pretty formidable. And of course, the change to Chavez actually was a low-key buff to Gladiator in the first place, because how often did Gladiator pull Chavez, the old Chavez anyway? Way too often. So this deck here does a pretty damn good job if you're looking to get those wins for the weekend missions. Otherwise, however, there are some better decks out there for you if you're looking to find some success on the ladder and in Infinity Conquest. Dropping from number 1 last week to number 9 is going to be Ronin. Why would it have such a massive drop? Well, it's quite simple. People got used to playing against it, right? So when Ronin got initially buffed, there was so much experimentation with it, and people weren't used to the play pattern, and therefore were getting caught off guard by the Ronin, kind of the decks and their synergies. Now, people have had a week to adjust, and the win rate has gone down to 55%, a modest cube gain of 0.22. So still overall pretty good. It's interesting to see that the best version of Ronin is running something like a Baron in it, but hey, it is what it is, right? Ronin's still a very fun list, but again, there's going to be more sustainable long-term decks on here. At least Ronin is relevant again, which is a nice thing overall. Something we have not been able to say for the longest time. I do like the inclusion of Iceman, by the way. This is something that's been added in order to kind of keep things in the opponent's hand, reduce their ability to play things down. Overall, just a good deck. It's just a good deck. And then we go to number 8, Black Bolt. This has been one that I've been playing a lot, and I love to see Black Bolt being back. Black Bolt's stature, and with Silver Samurai, no less. The deck runs a lot of synergistic cards with your discard. Whether you discard X23 for the extra energy, or of course the Dawkins Shard, you're going to be getting value. You are running Killmonger in here as well, because you want to destroy the Shard and kind of destroy X23. You can also destroy X23 with Nico, which is pretty cool. You can also destroy the Shard with Nico. There's a lot of surprising synergistic plays here. Moreover, Miss Marvel in the middle, you close with Doctor Doom, and suddenly you got yourself a pretty significant amount of power on turn 6. Running a 55% win rate at a positive 0.23 cube rate, the deck overall is consistent with some of the top 10 decks, although again, we do have some others that are exceeding the expectations of cube gain. So overall, a really fun deck. It's cool to see Black Bolt coming back. I personally would like to see Black Bolt and Stature being reverted to their prior power, +1 on each, but maybe that sends this deck over the top. It's hard to know, but a very inventive deck that's fun to play. Then we go to number 7, and it's Loki. A very important note here, okay? Loki has had a tremendous fall from grace. We're seeing win rates in the mid-50s, which is still decent. This is all infinite stats. But the cube rate is 0.26. This is way lower than Loki has traditionally been. And so a lot of people are still clamoring for the nerf to Loki, but I will tell you from a statistics standpoint, Loki doesn't seem like it's actually that problematic anymore. It still might be a feels bad card, and at the highest kind of competitive levels, it still might be a very strong, if not one of the best strategies in the game. But on an aggregate level, it doesn't seem as problematic as maybe we tend to see on Twitter and stuff like that. So I will say that Loki's win rate and its cube rate has come down substantially. This is currently the highest win rate version. Was surprised to see that Professor X still maintaining a place in the top versions of Loki. But overall, still just a decent deck. But will it get nerfed in January? Well, I mean, it just might, right? But it looks like it's already kind of on its way down quite a bit, hanging out at number 7. Number 6 is Annihilus Lockdown. This is kind of one that's kind of been emerging a little bit. You had your classic Annihilus style decks, and now you have the Lockdown variant. This is running a 0.30 cube rate, and you have a 55% win rate. Overall, a strong deck, once again running the Hood, Sentry, and Annihilus package. The surprise factor of Valkyrie is very significant here. So if you do not draw your Annihilus and you have your Void on the right with your whatever else, a Valkyrie is a pretty interesting play to provide some additional power there while surprising your opponent. One thing worth noting here that was really surprising and consistent with Annihilus decks in the meta right now, none of the Annihilus decks that are at the top run Selene. This was a huge surprise to me, but statistics are reflecting that right now Selene is not improving the win rate on these decks. It might be because we're still seeing a lot of mirror matches, and therefore the mirror matches where you're sending over the goblins with the negative Selene effect and then they just send them back with their own Annihilus could be problematic. We'll have to keep an eye on this for weeks to come, but right now the best decks with Annihilus do not run Selene, which is pretty interesting and honestly was unexpected. Going to number 5, it's Tribunal, one of the top decks at last week, 56% win rate, a very strong cube rate at a positive 0.36. Honestly, it's just a damn good deck. You have Blob in there, a very different approach to what traditional Tribunal was. Traditional Tribunal had the, Iron Man Onslaught type combo centric play. Even with Hela, this one here has Tribunal as basically an additional win condition where you can just Blob and Taskmaster on 5 and 6 ramped, right? So it's pretty interesting to see that the play pattern has changed for Tribunal. Not something I expected. I don't think a lot of people expected it, because that ongoing kind of bursty type of Tribunal was pretty much the standard way of playing it, either that or the Hela based deck. But now you have a pure stats based list, and the nice thing about this deck is you can just ramp out perfectly into like a Giganto left and then a Magneto, which messes up Miss Marvel and stuff like that. Magneto, low key one of the higher cube rate cards in Snap right now because of its ability to disrupt Miss Marvel. So if you're someone that doesn't like Miss Marvel or doesn't have Miss Marvel, Magneto is doing work. Coming in at number 4, we have She-Not. Now, an important note here about She-Not. The win rate, pretty damn high at 57%. But what you'll notice is the cube rate is far lower, if not it's half, approximately half to that of, say, the Tribunal list. This is notable. The reason why this is occurring is because you're seeing that people know how to play against the Limbo, I skip turn 6 type stuff. They are prepared for that. They're able to calculate, well, Sunspot ramps, and then they're going to drop She-Hulk, Infinite, can I beat it? No, I retreat. Here's your 2 cubes. We go next. I destroy your Limbo this game. You lose 8, right? Whatever it happens to be. So the cube rate on this deck is much more in flux. People have very clear retreat lines, and also She-Not players get caught by surprise when someone storms or legions their Limbo. So that is what you see, that decay of the cube rate compared to a high win rate. So when you're playing this type of deck, be very cognizant of the risk of Limbo being destroyed or gotten rid of, and also of the fact that you want to get that cube equity earlier on in the match by snapping earlier when you know you have your combo, because people, if you snap on like turn 6 when you're skipping, they know what's up and they're just going to, you're not going to get optimal cube range there. So She-Not, very good win rate, if not one of the best in the game, but a low cube rate. One major note, Coccia coming out, I think is going to be huge for She-Not. So we'll be discussing her and these decks more in the future, so stay tuned. Number 3, we got Thanos Blob. Surprise, surprise, Thanos Blob still very good. 57% win rate, positive cube rate of 0.31. Just a very good deck overall. There's nothing more to say about it other than like it's just good. The addition of Elsa Bloodstone is quite unique here, but ironically Elsa Bloodstone's version does improve the win rate of this deck by approximately 1.5%. This is on aggregate across all Blob decks. You are seeing an increased win rate with this particular version. It's also notable that Vision provides you with a lot of added flexibility there, which can be pretty useful, where you can it just gives you that flexibility that is really valuable, especially considering the play rate of Professor X is coming down quite a bit, although this particular deck, of course, still runs Professor X because you have the Psylocke and the Time Stone providing with a lot of utility from that standpoint. Thanos Blob still a very good deck in the meta, to the surprise of absolutely nobody. As we move to number 2, quick note, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. I would appreciate your support. Subscriptions are important. They're an important metric for the channel, and it actually really helps for you to stay in touch with the channel and future releases. So if you're interested in getting more content, or you just like the content, consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. However, Miss Marvel is a standout card in Marvel Snap right now, and Marvelous Hawk is actually doing quite well. The cube rate of 0.39 cannot lie, 59% win rate. And we're thinking, Alex, Darkhawk in this economy, we got a Leech in here. The Leech is doing the work against the blobs that people are holding on to turn 6. You snap into the Leech on 5, you got the Darkhawk ready with obviously your Rock Slide and everything else, and your opponent's just like, well, I guess I'm just screwed. Like, I can't really do anything, right? These stats do not lie. On paper, you look at this deck and think this economy is not right for Darkhawk, and yet it continues to perform at a 59% win rate and a massive cube rate, one of the best in the game. So honestly, still a fantastic deck. You can absolutely reliably play. Just if you see Thanos, just be aware of Blob, and you're going to want to prioritize getting that Leech out in order to disrupt their turn 6 play, okay? So just bear that in mind. Then we go to our number 1 deck in Marvel Snap, and it's Bounce by Night, a 60% win rate, an absolutely massive cube rate of positive 0.52. it's just crazy. And once again, it's honestly kept simple. You have Annihilus, you have Sentry, and you have Hood, and that's more or less the package. The disruption of Spider-Ham is huge. You got the Beast, you got the Falcon. It's just crazy. And the key thing that makes this deck successful in something like a Conquest is its inclusion of the tech of Shang-Chi, which a lot of people tend to cut for more greedier options. Now, this actually surprised me, and of course it has Enchantress as well. This actually surprises me because I have felt that Werewolf by Night has fallen off quite a bit as a 4/4. But this deck is still performing. You can't deny it. It's also worth noting that Selene, once again, not a core component of these decks. They're not running the Goblins. And because this deck is so good, if you're running a Selene version with the Goblins and they have their Annihilus, then they'll just send that stuff back, right? So the mirror match stuff can be a little awkward. But regardless, currently, one of the absolute top decks in Marvel Snap with a 60% win rate, Bounce by Night. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and we'll see you in that next Marvel Snap video.